Every meal has a story to tell. That is, if you're willing to look for it. I'm Danielle Pruitt, and I started Wild and Whole in 2016 with the express purpose of redefining our connection to food and exploring the qualities that make wild ingredients so profoundly unique. I'm cooking 3 different recipes. I am driven by curiosity, and my inspiration springs from harvesting food directly from its source. I've spent the past decade of my life trying to eat consciously, and believe me, it's not always easy. But it's pushed me to search in places I'd never expect for the most unpredictable of ingredients. I want to challenge your perception of what food is, where it comes from, and how those 2 elements are woven into our lives. Because connecting to our landscape through food means so much more than just the calories that sustain us. Welcome to Wild and Whole Sourced. Turkeys have long been associated with Thanksgiving here in the US, but I've learned that the best tasting birds are actually found in the spring. Ever since I cooked my first wild turkey, I have been fascinated by the distinctive characteristics that set them apart from the butterballs at the grocery store. And I'm here in Tennessee to put one on the table. However, spring doesn't just mean turkeys for me. As this dynamic landscape warms up, I'm betting we might find a few other ingredients too. I've invited Michael Hunter, a renowned restaurateur, author, passionate turkey hunter, and forager, in hopes that we can round out a spring-influenced meal. You might remember Michael's name in headlines after he carved a deer leg in his restaurant's front window while vegan protesters marched outside. There's a lot more to him than that though, so I can't wait to share the kitchen. We're also joined by MeatEater's Director of Conservation, Ryan Callaghan, and Johnny Allred, Development Director for Tennessee Wildlife Resources Foundation. Johnny has generously invited us to join him on his family's land and show me the ropes of my first eastern turkey hunt. But before that happens, we'll need to get dialed in for the days ahead. With wide grassy slopes and long rolling hills, the terrain is definitely different from where I've hunted in my home state of Texas. It has the potential for some longer shots, so we start off with some target practice and pattern a few turkey loads to prepare. Way more rolling green hills. I thought we were going to be like in solid trees. Or will we?
Potential for some longer shots, which is why we wanted to do a little target shooting.
Okay, so we're shooting with...
Turn this into this.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
We're using red dot scopes here, a type of shotgun scope that helps pinpoint our shot placement onto the head and neck of the bird instead of the breast meat. It's just too bad they don't do anything for the recoil.
How silly is it that the more expensive the shotgun shell, the worse they feel? You think the more expensive, the easier they'd be to shoot.
Yeah, these pack quite a punch.
Put the turkey on the table. Feeling good?
I feel good.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Our morning is slow, but there's sort of a potential energy you get from the anticipation of a gobble or a strutting tom winding through the trees. It's thrilling, even though it might not look that way. Some curious cows also kept us entertained. Nearby, Michael and Cal are having a fairly different experience.
Oh shit, there he is. See him out there.
It never gets old. The hair on the back of my neck is still standing up.
It's critical when there's even a little bit of heat or afternoon sun to get your bird cleaned and chilled. So we get to it as a team. A lot of people don't pluck their turkeys, and granted, it does have like a much more like collagen rich skin that just gets tough. It's not like a duck skin that's gonna get that pretty crisp, but I love the way it still keeps juice and moisture inside when cooking. So doesn't dry out. While there are plenty of hunters who make full use of the turkey, it's far too common to hear about folks who only make use of the breast meat. They're missing out on some of the absolute best parts of the bird. I use the bones, neck, and feet for a luscious, collagen-rich bone broth, and the legs and wings for hearty, rich stews. And success with wild game is all about presentation. You'll notice I take an almost fanatical approach to making these birds fit for the table, like removing any trace of pin feathers, for example. Because ultimately, we eat with our eyes first, though there are some other tricks that you can employ here too, once you've got the presentation part taken care of. When I learned that you can take tendons out of a drumstick, it changed my life, because I cook with a lot of pheasants, and turkeys are the same way. These tendons get really hard whenever they're cooked. They don't dissolve. And so when I realized that you can take these out, my life is better. This is prime time for foraging here in Tennessee, when mild weather and rain bring the forest floor to life. There's a richness at this time of the year. Herbs, mushrooms, all of them are popping up, and we have no intention of ignoring these seasonal treasures. Without missing a beat, Michael keys in on some pheasant-back mushrooms. A little past their prime for the table, but they give us hope that there's more to find out there.
Yeah, they're a little old, but they smell like a watermelon rind.
These smell like garlic scapes. So I wonder if this is wild garlic?
Yeah, I totally think this is wild garlic. There's little bulbs at the bottom, like they're splitting off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of bulbs.
Definitely looks like onion, but I think it's garlic.
So Michael, how long have you been foraging? I mean, I know you've been cooking since you were really young. Did foraging become an evolution to wanting to have better, fresher ingredients?
Yeah, it kind of was a fluke. I was working at a little country inn, and we were beside a great big huge public kind of space. And the chef came in after riding his mountain bike and had 2 handfuls of morels and threw them on the table and was like, "Hey, look what I found." And I was just kind of amazed, whoa, what are those? They look cool. And he, told me, they're morels. He said they kind of hilly, shady, mossy, kind of sandy soil. And I was like, okay, cool. And then on our break, I ran across the road, went into the valley, and came back with 3 pounds of morels.
Wow.
So that was
your first foray.
Yeah,
you
my
came
first
home
foray, because I kind of knew
$120 of mushrooms.
When he came back, when he was describing the soil, I was like, I think I know a place exactly like he's describing.
Yeah. And you were just hooked.
I was hooked, yeah. Because I was a chef too. I was working in a restaurant, and it's we would buy these fancy mushrooms, and it was wow, I can actually find these.
Yeah.
And it's just naturally pairing with the wild turkey because it's all in season at the same time.
Yeah, that's really funny how our society, there's certain things that we think of as having this luxury item because we think of it as exotic because people don't forage anymore. To me, foraging is an opportunity to harvest gifts from the natural world. It's about capturing the essence of an ingredient when it's reached the peak flavor and then building a dish to showcase that. But it's also about the process itself, the finding, the exploring. It's in these fleeting moments that we are most connected to our surroundings and the landscape.
Giant. Huge one.
Oh my gosh. That is huge.
That's awesome. Have you ever found a morel before?
No, I haven't.
All right, you do the honors.
I feel like that's cheating.
No. Yeah, it's your first time.
Oh my gosh.
All right, I'm gonna look for more.
This is huge. It's clean. Oh my god.
You're a big slug in it?
There's a centipede in there. See that right there? You can't get that kind of surprise without getting into the woods. We let the centipede live another day and continued our search. Later in the afternoon, Johnny and I head back out for another attempt to fill my tag. And as is often the case when hunting turkeys, we're taken completely by surprise. Trying to follow this hen, a Jake sneaks up behind us. Well hidden by the fence, I'm able to take a shot.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh God.
Nice Jake. Congratulations.
Thank you so much for helping me. Oh man, that's gonna taste so good.
That was a long time in coming, wasn't it?
No, it really was. Oh my gosh. I was so fixated on them coming through there that I just didn't think I'd be able to see them. I was like, they would have to be right up on this ridge because of this slope. And then he was right, perfect.
Got it done anyway.
All right. All right, well, let's tag him.
Holy cow, that feels good.
There's no two ways about it. I am psyched to have my first Eastern turkey in the bag. And honestly, other than my thankfulness for this whole experience, it's a hard feeling to fully explain. But we've got a whole other pile of wild ingredients too, and I could go for a cocktail after what's felt like one heck of an unexpected hunt.
So this is one of my favorite cocktails that we serve at Antler. We call it the Rusty Antler. It's venison infused drambuie, any kind of scotch or bourbon, black walnut bitters, and we actually garnish it with a piece of venison jerky.
Wow.
Very appropriate.
Cheers. Great day hunting. That's good. So Michael, I've been through some of your recipes and your cookbook, and I love how you don't just have wild game and fish, you have a lot of foraged ingredients. So like it just seems like you're very inspired by what you find outdoors in nature in each season, and that sort of inspires your recipe development. So we've got wild turkey, some morels, wild garlic. What are you planning with those?
I'm gonna make a little cut, almost butterfly that breast, stuff it with goat cheese, some sourdough, breadcrumbs, and then we'll saute those morels, chop up the wild onions, cook it all in a pan together, mix it with our goat cheese stuffing, and then back into the breast, and we're actually gonna cook that over the fire.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, yeah. What about the rest? Like what legs, thighs, wobbly bits, livers, stuff like that?
Legs, we're gonna do cassoulet, which is like a bean dish in a crock pot, stock, stuff like that to really break down those tough legs. And again, hang that crock pot over the fire. Liver, we're gonna make a pate, garnish it with a little blueberry jam, serve it on some toast as little appies.
Nice. I love the fire aspect and all that wood smoke infusing into the food. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You're throwing me off with the blueberry jam, though. I thought you Canadians are all maple syrup.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're gonna make a maple pie actually, and serve that for dessert.
Nice. I love it.
While Cal gets a solid bed of coals going, Michael and I head into the kitchen. We want to use all the parts of these birds, and the livers are no exception, so we're making a pate. Most folks think of duck, goose, or chicken livers when they think of pate, but there's no reason you can't use turkey livers. Historically, pates evolved as an economical way to make leftovers and organ meats last further and look more presentable, so it shouldn't come as a surprise that the base meats for pates are easily interchangeable. And the basic tenets of a good pate are the same. You want to just brown the livers quickly while keeping the inside pink, sauté shallots for savoriness. You need a splash of acid for balance. Here we're using port. And because wild game is so lean, you'll want copious amounts of butter for that perfect melt-in-your-mouth consistency. Once cooled, we top this pate with a sweet blueberry compote and allow it to set in the fridge while we prep our other ingredients. I'm really excited because I've never found a morel until this trip.
Yeah.
So this is my first time to work with fresh morels.
They are one of my absolute favorite mushrooms.
There's definitely
this cult-like mystique about it, and it seems really silly.
Yeah.
But it's not silly because I've looked a lot and haven't found any.
Yeah.
And so now I kind of understand why.
Yeah, they can be really difficult and frustrating to forage for. Some of my spots will yield really well one year, and then the next year I'll go back to my little secret spot and there's like 4 mushrooms.
Yeah.
So it's one of those love-hate kind of relationships.
Well, I think part of the reason that people love this mushroom so much is because it's very accessible. It's so identifiable.
Yeah.
That, you know, you may not be able to charge out there and just find a bunch of morels, but if you do find one, you know what it is.
Yeah.
You know it's safe to eat.
And it seems like it's so dependent on weather. I mean, 100% on rain. And it's just like being in the right place at the right time.
It's all too easy to talk about morels, but we've got some other dishes to cook, and the next one is our cassoulet. Despite its French origins, this humble dish was once considered peasant food. However, that doesn't mean it's lacking in flavor. In fact, it's packed with layers, from the aromatic veggies, herbs and wine, to the white beans infused by wood smoke from our fire. The addition of the bone-in legs and wings takes this recipe to yet another level. Although they're tough when cooked too quickly, a long, gentle braise tenderizes the meat and unwinds a deep, nuanced wild turkey flavor. It's an ideal preparation for lazy afternoon cooking over the campfire.
I think a lot of people are intimidated by cooking over the fire because you don't have a knob to tell you how hot you're going, and there's a little bit more intuition with trying to control the heat of a fire.
Like regulating heat with charcoal is fairly easy as long as you just kind of keep adding new charcoal, because then you just get that consistent rate of burn and you can kind of shuffle out old coals and bring in new ones, and then you just want airflow to keep consistent heat. But with wood, and I've done quite a bit of wood fire cooking on the side of rivers primarily, you have your big wood to like hold the heat, and then when you want to like really get that thing ripping, I just kind of stockpile like small finger-sized dry tinder and throw that on there. As soon as that starts to take off, throw your pan on there, and you're gonna have, you know, on the verge of uncontrollably hot heat.
Once our cast iron roasting pan is up to temp, I add butter and a mixture of celery and wild garlic to sweat. I then add the morels, herbs, and finally the goat cheese, stirring to combine. After the stuffing has cooled, Michael prepares the turkey breast, essentially making a small pocket with a simple slice through the widest part. The liquid from the butter and goat cheese provides moisture to the turkey from the inside out, ensuring delicious, juicy meat.
All right, so all of our stuffing is inside the bird, and I'm just gonna fold this underneath because this is a thinner piece. It's gonna cook a lot faster than here. So I'm gonna just tuck it under there and just tie this up into a nice little roast.
Trussing can seem intimidating, but really, all it is a couple of loops of string around the roast, which helps the meat cook evenly.
You can truss a turkey, you can pack a mule.
It also makes for a great presentation at the table.
I like how that wing bone's kind of kicking up like that.
Once trussed, we brown it on one side, flip, and cover it with hot coals to create an oven-like effect while it roasts.
So Michael, I came into hunting because I wanted to have both a meaningful lifestyle and also a connection to my food because I loved cooking so much. And I know you're kind of in a similar situation because you didn't grow up hunting either. So how did you get into that?
Well, I didn't start hunting until I was 18, and a family friend took me out. And it really was the flavor difference between true wild turkey and growing up eating farm turkey at all those holidays. It was really like a light bulb, game-changing moment for me that, this is how turkey is supposed to taste, and that stuff in the grocery store isn't how turkey is supposed to taste.
Yeah, there's a huge, huge flavor difference for sure.
And I think just, becoming a chef and like wanting to search out the best possible tasting ingredients really just was the path of hunting for me because, I just don't think anything tastes as good as like true wild game or
And
wild
foraged
fish.
food
Yeah,
too.
exactly.
Both
Like,
of them.
And you know, who knows how old something is in the store? Like maybe it's a week, and that's not that old, but it's still not going to taste as good as something that we just picked.
Working with wild food is always a little bit of an experiment. There are so many variables when it comes to game meat. Every turkey I eat is slightly different, and what's available to forage out there in the woods is always changing. You might find yourself like us here, with a perfect blend of ingredients, all fresh, all at their peak flavor. Other times, you might find that you're a couple days late. You just won't know unless you get out there. After all, this is wild food, straight from the source. And I guarantee you that the time you spend looking for your next meal won't be wasted. If this spread is any indication, more often than not, you'll find something that's worth the effort.
That is beautiful. Oh, so excited.
The stuffing is really good.